So the Kitasan Black support card has just been released, and I'm sure many of you have probably heard from many other people that you need to get it because it is going to be meta, and specifically you need it at max limit break. But the question is, do you know why? And I don't just mean because it's what happened in the Japanese meta, I mean, do you know why the card is so useful? Beyond just because others said so. Well, hopefully today I'll give you some insights as to why specifically Kitasan Black is so good, and hopefully from what you learn you can use this knowledge to help assess other cards that you might already have yourself to realize what cards are good and what are not. Who knows? You might be sitting on a really good card that you don't even know about. Following tier lists is one thing, but knowing is half the battle. So let's go over why exactly Kitasan is so good. Starting of course with the skills, which is one of the most important things when deciding on a card to pick, because technically speaking at the end of the day, all of the cards will have similar effects just with different values, and that does set them apart, but there will never be one card that has more values in every single category than all other cards. But there are certain values that are more important than others, and that does set them apart, but what really makes certain cards stand out is the skills they provide. For example, that is why Super Creek has been touted as one of the must-pull reroll cards. There are plenty of other stamina cards, but people really want that Swing Maestro. And that is no different with Kitasan Black, who provides a lot of really good skills. Most notably is Corner Recovery and her golden skill Professor of Curvature, both of which, similar to Swing Maestro, activate on corners. So of course, stamina recovery and speed increase are always great, but the fact that they are on corners as well is why they are so good. Yes, there are the equivalents for straightaways, but the sort of issue is that more often than not, races will start with a straightaway, which means that these skills could activate in that early part of the race, which you don't really want. Do you really need your energy to be recovered very early on in the race when you've barely spent any of your stamina? And do you really need to increase your speed when your strategy just says that you're going to be sitting in the back the entire time of the race? That's, for example, why Swing Maestro is so good from Super Creek. Not only is it just a very good gold recovery skill, but it activates at a good time. Unlike, for example, other gold recovery skills, which technically speaking do give similar amounts of stamina back as Swing Maestro, but either they activate too early, or they are for a specific distance, or they're for a running style that you aren't using, or they're whatever requirement there is just too difficult to trigger. For example, being surrounded, which ideally you should never be surrounded. Almost all races have corners, so you will almost always be activating this, and at a good time as well. No longer will you be stuck with like 300 skill points at the end of a run, and then you have to wonder, well, what do I get now? None of these skills will be useful for me. I guess I'll just buy these random green skills. And I mean, even ignoring those two very good generic skills, she has really good other skills as well. Now, yes, they are part of that slightly more restrictive part, but she has some great skills for frontrunners. That's frontrunner straightaways, dodging danger, and focus. All of these can help your frontrunner get out to the front of the pack really early on, and especially that focus. If you get a late start in a race as a frontrunner, it is pretty much game over, because odds are that means that you will not be in the front, of course. And typically, when you make a frontrunner, you're going to be pulling them with a lot of speed and not a lot of power. So I'm going to assume that with not a lot of power, and because you're not going to be expecting to be in the back of the pack, you're not going to have that many overtaking skills. That's why right now, if you've been playing, you might have noticed that even if the aptitude for the frontrunner style is very low, you might still find more success as a frontrunner compared to, say, a pace chaser or a late surger. And that is because the stat requirements are a lot more simplified for frontrunners. They just need speed and, some stamina to maintain that speed. They don't really need power, because power will help you sort of accelerate and push through anyone blocking your path. And also, some wit also helps out for your positioning and avoiding getting the classic boxed in where you're stuck behind a bunch of horses and you know that you can outspeed them and outpace them, but because you've got a wall of NPCs blocking your path, technically speaking, you'd have to waste your energy sidestepping around them. So as a front runner, you can avoid all of that, but that is on the condition that you are actually, in the front. But wait, there's more. As for Kitasan's own events, one of them gives you the option for Practice Perfect, which is, of course, an effect that increases your chances of not failing a training, or I guess decreases your chances of failing. I don't know why I said it like that. But aside from that, there are also 3 different events that give plus mood. And of course, increasing your mood is great because 1, increased stats, but 2, also increased stats from training. So again, we're really emphasizing the fact that she just gives you a ton of stats. But let's say that for whatever reason, you are already at max mood. Well, great. In 2 of those mood up events, they are optional ones. So if you have great mood, sure, just take the other option that gives you a hint for straightaway adept, another really good skill or the other option that gives you energy, which means that you can do more potential rainbow trainings on the following turn. Now, all of these are given to you pretty much as long as you have a Kitasan Black. You don't really need multiple copies to get these skills that I just mentioned and these benefits. However, you do probably still want multiple copies, because if she sounds great already from just these events and these skills, she gets even better when it comes to training and getting more speed and stats. Starting at Limit Break 3, so in other words, 4 copies of her total, that is when you unlock all of the different bonuses that she has. Mainly the Specialty Priority, which only unlocks at Limit Break 3, but ideally you want her at maximum limit breaks, that's level 50, because all of the bonuses that she provides then get increased even further. Specifically, Specialty Priority jumps up to 80 from the previous 40, and then that combined with the unique effect that also adds another 20% Specialty Priority, that means that, technically speaking, Kitasan Black will now appear on speed training twice as often, which is very good. Picture this, how many times have you gone into summer with plenty of energy, expecting to get a bunch of rainbow trainings on speed, pumping up all of your speed, right? And then every single turn, for some reason, all of your speed cards are just sitting on the guts training or the wits training or something like stamina. And then you think to yourself, how much speed have I missed out on? Kitasan Black having this much specialty priority will somewhat alleviate that. Of course, there is still the chance that things fail, but the reason why specialty priority in general is just so good is, one, of course it does provide the consistency, and two, that friendship training can only ever activate when you are on the same node. So you will never have friendship training with Kitasan Black on, say, guts. So you can think of this effect as essentially more rainbow trainings. Not only that though, but of course when you are at level 50, the initial friendship of Kitasan Black will be at 35, which means that you'll also start getting rainbow trainings even earlier. You could very easily start getting rainbow trainings even before your very first race. In comparison, if you look at any of the other speed cards that we have, whether it be the Max Limit Break Sweep Tosha or any of the other Max Limit Break cards that you may have already, their specialty priority barely comes close to a Kitasan Black specialty priority. So okay, cool, Sakura Bakushin-O does have a higher friendship gauge, which means that you will unlock the ability for friendship training more often, but does that really matter when she's only appearing about 2/3 of the time as often as Kitasan Black? And also, let's not forget, very early on when you're trying to, say, build up friendship and also trying to upgrade your facilities, since you have to train at a facility 4 times before it gets upgraded, I'm sure we've had plenty of runs where you're trying to farm friendship, but for some reason you just end up never training speed because they all decide to be on guts or something like that, and then you fail your debut race. Once again, Kitasan Black will help that out. And then I know I've been talking a lot about specifically friendship training, but even ignoring friendship training, Kitasan Black has a pretty good training effectiveness bonus at Max Limit Break with a 15% bonus. So even when you don't have the rainbow training, you're still getting good gains with Kitasan Black, and that's regardless of if you're on speed. It's just 15% more stats whenever you do train with Kitasan Black, no matter where it is, which again is great, so that the times that she does happen to appear elsewhere for whatever reason on, say, wits or power, you're getting a little bit more out of those trainings. So it's not like it's a total loss when you miss out on a rainbow. And then she also provides a power bonus whenever you do train with her on speed, which is kind of important compared to some other cards where normally they just double up on whatever stat they do provide. For example, other speed cards just provide 1 extra speed, which, I mean, that's cool, but odds are you will probably be running multiple speed cards and not that many power cards. And so you'll end up training speed a lot more often, and you probably won't be training power that much, which means that you could end up overcapping speed and then not having any power. This helps alleviate that somewhat. Kitasan also has a very high hint frequency at 30%, which is good of course, because that means you have more chances to get hints, which will either give you speed and power, or a hint for one of her many very good skills that we talked about earlier. For example, that corner adet and that corner recovery. So after talking about how great Kitasan Black is, I of course myself did do some pulls for it on stream, and so if you're wondering how many Kitasan Blacks about 450 pulls gets you, well, boy have I got the video for you. But before you do, don't forget to leave a comment and a like on this video, and while you're at it, why not consider subscribing too. But until next time, bye bye!